Now, the Pan African ILGA says an important role in LGBTIQ plus organising across the African continent and holds strong Pan-Africanist ideas. It operates as a network of more than 256 organisations on the continent. This year's Pan African ILGA Conference will be convened under the theme Reclaiming Our Past, Defining Our Future, and will take place virtually and broadcast from Constitution Hill in Johannesburg. As it stands, nearly half of the countries worldwide where homosexuality is outlawed are in Africa. To tell us more about the focus of this year's regional conference, we are joined by Program Director Anthony Olouch. Anthony, very good morning. Thank you for speaking to us. Now, the conference is held at Constitutional Hill in Johannesburg. This is a most significant venue, and South African Constitution was the first in the world to prohibit or unfair discrimination on the basis of gender or sexual orientation.
Yes, the South African Constitution back in '94 was the first one to include sexual orientation as protected grounds for discrimination. So this is the significance of us being here cannot be understated.
Now, the conference title is Reclaiming Our Future, Reclaiming Our Past, rather, Defining Our Future. Now, defining your future is pretty obvious, but talk us through reclaiming our past, part of the theme.
Yeah, the focus of this entire conference is really looking at important moments in our lives. And we have a past. We have a past as an LGBTQ community in the continent, a past that actually exists, a past that has been, in the past with colonization, with the introduction of religion, our past has been erased. So we want to reclaim that past, the past that allowed for us to exist, that allowed for trans people to exist, gay people to exist without being discriminated against. And then looking at our current situation, where we are now as LGBTQ community, and then using that information to define a future that is free of discrimination on the grounds of sexual orientation, gender identity.
Now, the issue of sexual orientation, was that really accepted in the past on the continent? Is the fact that so many African countries have oppressive laws to gay individuals not an indication of this acceptance that you speak of?
Oh, absolutely not, actually. The laws that exist in most of the African countries were actually colonial laws that came into place when we were colonized, basically. The erasure of that history. We had LGBT people probably not named LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, but there were individuals. There are anthropological studies that show that there were individuals that had different sexual orientation and different gender identities in the past, before colonization. In fact, what we say is what colonization did is it brought homophobia to the continent. We didn't have that homophobia. We didn't have that discrimination against people who were different. In fact, for some communities, people who were different were actually revered as different. So the laws that criminalize same-sex conduct, the laws that criminalize transgender, that criminalize changes of names, changing of gender. These laws are not a part of our history. They are an introduction to our community by the colonizers.
Decriminalization within and beyond the law is one of the themes that you are tackling as part of your conference. Now, across in Ghana, lawmakers are fighting for the gay rights advocacy bill. So you have quite the mountain to climb still.
Absolutely. The decriminalization, the reason why we even titled it Beyond and Within and Beyond the Law was because if we take the South African example, for instance, criminalization of same-sex conduct ended in 1994, yet today there still exists discrimination on people on the grounds of their gender identity or sexual orientation. There are murders of lesbian women. There are beatings of people who are just different. So we need to go beyond the law, beyond the decriminalization aspect of the law. Ghana is an interesting state, and the fact that we actually had planned to have this conference in Ghana, but we couldn't do it because of COVID and because of the further criminalization that is happening there. It is unfortunate that this new bill is being introduced. It is a bill that is going to affect not only the LGBTQ community in Ghana, but the rest of the community, really, because it brings up issues. It brings up criminalizations of not only same-sex conduct, but also being an ally or being close to people who are lesbian and gay. And it is quite unfortunate. And the fact that it is happening in Ghana means that it can happen in different countries around that region and in other places. So yeah, it is an uphill battle, and we're going to push for it. That's why this conference exists.
Now, talk to us about the situation or the lives of gay individuals across the continent. Which countries are most homophobic, and where is the greatest amount of advocacy required?
I think advocacy is required across the board, because what happens in LGBT activism, it's about difference. It's about people not understanding that LGBT people are part of the community. LGBT people are a part of the society. So advocacy needs to continue happening across the board, just so that we can reinforce the fact that we live in a society with intersecting struggles and among other things. Northern African countries are incredibly difficult. West African countries have laws like the Ghanaian laws. South Africa, Botswana, Angola recently are some of the only countries that have decriminalized same-sex conduct. But like I said earlier, we can change the laws, but we also need to change the minds of people. We need to be accepted. We need to be allowed to exist in a society that we are a part of, and a society that accepts us.
Now, part of your conversation over the next couple of days is going to be breaking the silence on mental health. What are some of the issues that arise in this area?
The fact that a person is discriminated against and stigmatized because of something that they do not have control over is enough to make someone's mental health, to put a punch in to put a hit on someone's mental health. So that mere fact of discrimination is huge. The other fact is the fact that as activists, as LGBT activists, we are constantly fighting for our rights to exist. And that really is, it causes quite a lot of burnout, because constant fighting to be recognized, constantly fighting to be allowed to basically live is not an easy thing. But the fact that as black folk, as black queer folk, we do not talk about mental health enough. We perceive mental health as weakness, and that needs to be broken. The stigma around mental health needs to be broken, and that's why we're breaking the silence around mental health.
Something that I assume will be high on the agenda is hate crime, and we've seen an upsurge in South Africa over the last couple of months.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I was saying about South Africa. Even though the laws are are okay for LGBT people to exist. People are allowed to marry. People are not supposed to be discriminated against. There is a rise in hate crime for lesbian, gay, and bisexual people. So yes, we are going to tackle that. Yes, we are going to talk about why is this happening, and what solutions do we have for it.
Anthony, final question. You've said that this conference is Pan-African to the core. Does it suggest that you're not drawing any lessons from what's happened in the West or anywhere else in the world?
Of course, we will draw lessons from what's happening in the West, but we do not want to appear that we're basically just taking over what they did and applying it in our context, because as Africans, as the African continent, we are a completely different context from, say, the US or the UK. We will learn from them. We will learn from the journeys that they took in their drive towards equality. But we need to come up with African solutions. We need to come up with solutions that are fit to our context, that speak to the lives that we live as African people.